Moonlight. About half an hour into Moonlight, there's a scene where 10-year-old Chiron is sitting with Juan, a crack dealer, and he timidly asks Juan, "What's a faggot?" Juan and the audience both know where this question is coming from, so he chooses his words carefully, explaining to the child that it's a word people use to make gay people feel bad. The wide-eyed, soft-spoken Chiron follows that up with an equally timid, "Am I a faggot?" It's a truly heartbreaking moment. It's a moment where this young child, whose life is already pretty hard, black, poor, single mother addicted to crack, bullied at school, is learning that his life will be even harder than it already is. It's a moment where this adult, who recently found out Chiron's mother is one of his customers,
You gonna tell him why the other boys kick his ass all the time?
is learning that his actions affect more than just himself, and he has a responsibility to other people that he was previously unaware of. That's the end of the first of 3 acts in Moonlight, which follow Chiron as a child, as a teenager, and as an adult. It seems as good a place as any to give an idea of what kind of movie Moonlight is. One where every character, but Chiron in particular, has the deck stacked against them, and they're all just trying to get through it. It meaning life. In particular, it's about how the people around you dictate who you are, intentional or otherwise. And sometimes self-discovery is hindered or squashed entirely by the expectations other people have for you, and by the labels and assumptions other people project onto you. Hell, Chiron goes by a different name in 2 out of the 3 acts, Little and Black, solely because that's what other people call him. Other people literally determine his identity.
What you gonna do? Chiron?
Earlier in the first act, Juan, played by presumptive Best Supporting Actor Mahershala Ali, takes Little to the ocean and teaches him how to swim. It's also both a baptism metaphor and also Juan teaching Little to keep his head above water, literally and figuratively. Afterwards, he tells Little of a time when an old woman told him he was blue.
This one time, I run by this old lady. I was running, hollering, cutting a fool, boy. This old lady, she stopped me. She said, running around, catching up all that light. In Moonlight, black boys look blue. You blue.
It's a simple and harmless anecdote, but Juan rails against the label, telling Little that other people are going to try to tell him who he is, tell him that he's blue, but he is only what he chooses to be.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you're gonna be. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
That may be true in theory, but it's really hard to swallow in practice, as Chiron learns again and again and again throughout the course of the movie / his life. Chiron's life is difficult, unbearable at times, because other people make it so. And nearly every time another person brightens his life in some way, it's fleeting. And often that same person is tearing him down and making him miserable a scene or 2 later. Like I alluded, the story is told in 3 discrete acts, with different actors playing the lead in each segment, effectively showing the transformations that he goes through. Scared, confused little kid, to quiet, closeted teen, to guarded, hardened adult. And it's utterly remarkable how each of the 3 acts has its own beginning, middle, and end, has its own reveal, has its own dramatic climax, and yet they all still work as pieces of the whole as well. They mirror each other and reflect back into each other. For example, someone cooks for Chiron in all 3 acts. Water is thematically relevant in all 3 acts, and there's a distinct moment of some sort of physical intimacy between 2 black men in all 3 acts. Not necessarily sexual intimacy, just physical intimacy, from wrestling to resting a head on a shoulder. I mean, you want to talk about the 3 acts mirroring each other, and about how other people dictate who you are? Chiron eventually becomes Juan, presumably the only black male role model he ever had. The 3rd act in particular, while simple, is such a cathartic and beautiful culmination of everything that came before it, on a dramatic level, on a character level, and on a thematic level. It's so patient with slow, sweeping camera movements and unrushed small talk dialogue, and every second is dripping with subtext. On a surface level, nothing particularly exciting is happening in the third act. On a surface level, it's actually kind of boring. And yet for the last 20 minutes, you're practically holding your breath for all of it. I saw some really great movies in 2016, but Moonlight was easily the best I saw last year. It's the best movie I've seen in years. Yeah, I liked the other 8 Best Picture nominees, at least to some degree, roughly in this order. But Moonlight is a work of art. Purely on a craft level, basically everything impressed me. From the layered, nuanced performances, to the painfully compelling script and naturalistic dialogue, to the distinct and haunting score, to the cinematography and Barry Jenkins' subtle and spectacular direction.
We wanted to make a very immersive film, so there are certain times where we're taking the camera, and rather than allowing the audience to remain outside the film, we place the camera between actors. We want to make the audience an active participant.
Where'd you go last night?
Why?
Well, I'm your mama, ain't I?
But going deeper than a craft level appreciation, Moonlight gets to the heart of why I love movies. I'm a student and disciple of Roger Ebert, and I've cited this quote before, but it's so universally appropriate, I just keep coming back to it. We all are born with a certain package. We are who we are, where we were born, who we were born as, how we were raised. We're kind of stuck inside that person, and the purpose of civilization and growth is to be able to reach out and empathize a little bit with other people. And for me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy. It lets you understand a little bit more about different hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears. It helps us identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us. I didn't choose to be born white, I didn't choose to be born straight, and I didn't choose to be born to loving parents who were willing to work their fingers to the bone to make sure I had a better life than they did. Similarly, Chiron did not choose to be born black, he did not choose to be born gay, and he did not choose to be born to a poor crack addict mother. This may be a trivial and obvious observation, but it's something I couldn't get out of my head after watching Moonlight. I also couldn't get out of my head how badly I wanted to give Chiron a hug throughout the movie. Whenever I thought I couldn't feel worse for this kid/man, something happened and I was proven wrong. And it just made me want to hug him even more and tell him everything was going to be okay. According to Roger Ebert, that is the exact purpose of movies. To show us other things and other people that we don't know about and help us understand them, at least a little. And given how much other people, in the most generic sense, play such a pivotal role in Moonlight, it's even more appropriate. I don't spend much of my day actively thinking about poor, gay, black kids with crack addict mothers, but for the 2-hour runtime of Moonlight, and for the hours afterwards, my heart was breaking for Chiron, and even more so for the real people just like him. Or as Ebert put it, the movie helped me identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us. Yeah, there's a reason he was the first film critic to win a Pulitzer Prize. Listen, I roll my eyes as much as the next guy when people throw around terms like important movie. But in a time when some people are trying to divide us based on our differences, empathy and understanding are more crucial than ever. To me, and apparently to Roger Ebert, they're some of the most important emotions we're capable of. Chiron, in particular, is desperate for someone to understand him. Desperate. And real people in the world feel that same desperation. Barry Jenkins and Moonlight helped me understand, even if it was just a little. But I will take a little.
Not what I expected.
What did you expect?